I just wish Julius Randle was there because the feeling that I have without Randle, oh, man, if he were here, I'd feel like the Knicks could take this thing all the way to the NBA Finals and potentially win a championship.
Dude, I got to tell you, first of all, there's a chance the Knicks get the 2 seed. We'll get into the minutia in a moment. There's 2 ways to look at this. There's the emotional way, which is not the way that's going to lead you to the right answer. And then there's my way. I hate to say this. They're better without Randle.
Oh, come on.
They're better without Julius Randle, and they're better without R.J. Barrett. Think about the Knicks version.
Without R.J., yes. Without Randle, he's the second-best player.
Is he, though? Well, he is, but is he that guy when you need him? And the answer thus far has been no. Listen, we all love Randle. He's a bull, and we feel horribly for him that he got hurt. But going back to the Heat series that the Knicks lost a year ago, and there were other culprits. Quickly played poorly. Even Brunson had some spotty games. You know, it was all over the map. And obviously Randle didn't play well. But R.J. Barrett, who is among the least efficient forwards in basketball, has been replaced by inarguably the most efficient small forward in basketball, and that's OG. And then you look at the Dante DiVincenzo impact. You are now bringing 2 guys to the table that are just, lights out shooters. And obviously OG is one of the best defenders in the game. I love Randle. I feel badly for Randle that he's not going to be able to try to change his personal narrative night to night, and that includes regular season and postseason. The Knicks are better without him.
Now, let me be clear. I'm not putting a ceiling on what this team could do anymore because I put a ceiling on them when Randle went down and Anunoby went down, and here they are climbing up the rankings as opposed to sinking in the rankings. However, I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you my true inner gut feelings. If Julius Randle were healthy and a part of this, or even just coming back and trying to be a part of this, I would feel like the sky is the limit for this team. Now, I'm not putting a ceiling on them. However, I'd feel much, much better if Randle were there. I don't understand the logic in saying that they're better off without their second-best player. He has to prove himself in the postseason. Unfortunately, he's not going to get a chance to do that. Understood. But how can you say that they're better without their second-best player?
Because their second-best player hasn't been nearly good enough to match the regular season honors that he's got a couple of times here as the Knicks in terms of all-NBA second and third team. That's why, listen, I look at these Knicks and Tom Thibodeau is going to be very interesting to dissect the next couple of months here because he's at that window. He's at that age where we don't really know if he can fully take a team to a championship. We'll discuss that as we get into the meat of the various series. But look at the Knicks right now. Do they have a superstar? Yes. And that's obvious. And listen, I don't know what to tell you. People aren't giving Brunson that stamp as a superstar.
Well, he is.
And you're not watching Jalen Brunson. I know you do, and I know I do. That's all we can only speak for our show.
We felt like
Jalen Brunson's an unstoppable killer. He's that good.
We felt like this for a while. And by the way, it's a non-starter. If you don't have a superstar, you don't have a chance, which is why I'm not putting a ceiling on this team because he is a legitimate superstar.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I hear you. I know that you prefer Randle here. And again, that's why I started this conversation with emotionally, so do I. Because I get behind guys who work hard, guys who represent our city, guys who want to compete. And Randle did everything to will himself back from a really unfortunate and devastating injury for a basketball player. If the hamstrings barking, if you have a little, contusion in a different part of the body, that's one thing. But when you play physically the way Randle does, that arm was going to get pulled out of its socket one way or the other. So I almost think, Sal, in a way, well, certainly I stand by what I said. I do think that they're more efficient, and I do think that they will be better without Randle. But even with, even if he was able to play, I think he would have gotten in their way because he would have been feeling his way through.
Well, you saw him now look, he had to prove himself in the postseason. I understand that. Yep. And it's going to be a different game, and everybody's got to prove themselves in the postseason.
That's true.
This Knicks team, whether it's Brunson, whether it's everybody else on the team, the head coach, there's a lot to be. It's different in the regular season where the Knicks and Tibbs turn it up a notch, and everybody else doesn't. They as a matter of fact, they turn it down as opposed to having it turned up a notch. Then in the postseason, they turn it up 10 times, and the Knicks are still at their high level of play. So we're going to see what happens here where the Knicks get into the postseason. But Julius Randle has been proven to be an all-star in this league.
But not when you need him.
Well,
and that's all that matters.
Well, but also when he was here with the trade of Anunoby initially, when all the big three were together, the Knicks version of the big three, They were playing as like the best team in the NBA. That's with Randle. So just because they've had some success without Randle in the regular season where guys are resting players and this and that, whatever it may be, postseason, different story. I think ultimately to get to where the Knicks want to get to, and that is championship basketball, you do not benefit by taking an all-star off of the team.
Well, you're not willingly taking him off the team. I mean, he was taken from you. And that's one thing. I think those are two very, very different discussions. Like, should the Knicks look to trade Randle this summer? I believe that they will. And again, I'm a Julius Randle fan.
If you think they're better without him.
I do. And I think that that's going to be a real – I just don't want to get into it today about whether or not you trade him this summer. I want to stay locked in on what we're talking about, that I think that the Knicks are absolutely going to be better in the playoffs without Julius Randle, with all due respect. Because I look at the checklist of other things that matter more. Do you have the superstar? We touched on that.
Right.
The answer is yes. Do you have depth? Yes. Do you have shooters? Yes. Do you play defense every night? Yes. And do you have size and variety in terms of style? Like, stylistically, the Knicks can run and gun a little bit with Brunson and Hart and DiVincenzo getting up and down the court. Can you play a half-court game where you grind it out? The answer is yes, with Mitchell Robinson back, because between him and Hartenstein, with 12 fouls, and I know that they're very different skills. Like, Mitch is more of a, I don't want to say a plotter, but more right around the rim.
He's a rim protector.
He's a rim protector. Hartenstein, he can put him at the foul line extended, backdoor cuts. He can do a little floater that he's got. He's just a more skilled basketball player, but you have two different versions of centers that you can mix and match depending upon the matchup. So I know it almost seems counterintuitive. If you've got an all-star, why in the world, or how can you be better without them? Because they're going to be more efficient. That's why.
Here's the thing, though, and this is just, unfortunately, we're not going to know. Well, we're going to see how the Knicks fare in the postseason, but we're not going to know how it would have been in comparison to Randle. What we have to go based off of is Randle in the postseason prior has not been good. But they've been two different circumstances. The first year where he led them to the 4 seed, it was only him. Like, they had no other option. They were not a good team.
No.
It was Julius Randle, an all-star that took a really not talented Knicks team to the 4 spot in the postseason, and then they got beat by the Atlanta Hawks. The second time he was in the postseason last year, he was banged up. He had an injury. And now he wasn't very good, but he was banged up, and there were some issues there. And the Knicks weren't as good as they are now. This was going to be a prove-it year for Randle in the postseason. But come postseason time, when the opponents turn it up, the Knicks are going to need more scoring options. Randle is their second-best scoring option.
But I want to get these calls. The thing that worries me, because you're not wrong, when the opposing defenses turn things up, you're going to need some more. And we'll see if they get it. I believe that they will. But the other thing about Randle, which like
Anunoby's a shooter.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who's going to create. Like,
he doesn't have to create.
Okay, fine. Somebody's got to. Randle at least is a guy who could play iso ball, get it to him in the post, whatever. He's got moves. He can shoot.
No, he does.
He's a well-rounded. They don't have that
No,
outside of Brunson.
I know, but I think that a lot of the good and the uniqueness of Julius Randle is too often offset by a lack of decisiveness. And Knicks fans, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, there's value in being able to dump the ball to Randle. Hey, go get it, big boy. Get to the stripe, get us a 3, get to the hole, do something.
You need that at some point.
I know you need it, but what you don't need is the constant waiting. Is the double coming? Do I pass it? Do I chuck it up? Like, there's indecision and inefficiency with Randle, which will not be here in the playoffs, and I actually think that that's good for the Knicks.
BT and Sal on the Fan.
I love the guy.
BT and Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Dan is in Stamford, Connecticut. What's up, Dan?
Hey, how you doing? BT, I'm on your side here. I like Julius Randle, but the combination of his injury and the trade changed the whole chemistry of the team. Right now, Randle in that lineup, he slows the offense down, too much one-on-one. You took the words right out of my mouth. Do I pass? Am I getting a double here? You got shooters on the floor now, okay?
You guys are in for a rude awakening come postseason. Jalen Brunson's not going to be able to score 45 every night.
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay, you don't think so. Well, we'll
agree,
see.
But you got Dante DiVincenzo on there now.
Oh,
he
yeah.
wouldn't even be playing.
Yeah, DiVincenzo's the answer in the postseason. Thanks for the call, Dan. DiVincenzo could do it in the regular season. He's done a nice job. I'm not trying to disparage him whatsoever. Postseason's a different animal. When teams actually start to play defense, the Knicks are going to learn. Just like they did 2 years ago in that series against Atlanta, where it was a totally different team. The Knicks owned the Hawks in the regular season. They were a terrific team in the regular season. And then in the postseason, things done change. Well, that's what's going to happen again. The only question is, how good is Brunson? Is he good enough to overcome that? And the depth pieces as well. Are they good enough to overcome that? Back a couple years ago, they didn't have anything. Now they do have a good team. However, BT, when it gets turned up, Brunson's not going to be able to score 40, 45 a night. DiVincenzo, to me, is not going to be as efficient a player or as effective of a player. They're going to miss Julius Randle. We have to see it. We don't know that for a fact, but I believe that's going to be the case.
Yeah, and I'm not prepared to co-sign what you just said about DiVincenzo absolutely taking a step back because, the defensive intensity or the focus on him is amplified. And you're right in terms of your concept. Yeah, that's why the role players in the NBA playoffs historically generally play better at home. That you get a little wind at the sails there, but when you go on the road, as teams specifically game plan, there's a downtick in production. That's not an erroneous statement. But I'll tell you what. Think about where we are now, and maybe Sal, I don't know that you'll agree, but this is how I feel going into the playoffs, and there's still the second seed to play. I'll tell you how in a minute. I don't want to get bogged down with that yet. Brunson, Randle, and Barrett for me. Brunson, Randle, and Barrett versus Brunson, OG, and DiVincenzo. I'll take this version.
Well,
I really will.
I don't. And now Barrett was good in the postseason last year.
He had a couple of good flashes. There's no question. I'm not trying to say he didn't. But at the end of the day, did you really know? Did you really want R.J. Barrett lining up a 3 in the fourth quarter down bucket?
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
No way.
I want DiVincenzo taking it. I want OG taking it.
I'm with you with with Brunson and OG. I can't say that I'd rather have DiVincenzo than Randle.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying in the equation that I presented to you, OG is taking over for Randle.
Right.
He's a better defender. He's not going to get you 25 a night. But then again, Randle didn't get you 25 a night in the postseason.
I understand what you're saying. I still think Randle is the better player. Outside of Brunson, Randle is the overall better player. And I do think there are going to be moments in clutch situations. And I know Randle hasn't been great in clutch situations.
He's been terrible.
Postseason. I understand that. He's still an all-star. I mean, the guy's been a chance. You don't make the all-star by accident in the NBA. We're raising up DiVincenzo, but minimizing what Julius Randle has accomplished here. He had to prove himself in the postseason. I am looking at it as circumstance. First year, they had nothing. I mean, Reggie Bullock was the second best.
Yeah, I know. Alec Burks was there.
Right, so do we agree to maybe throw that out as when we're evaluating Randle in the postseason?
You could. No, okay. I've been fair to him with that. Last year worried me. Last year bothered me.
Last year, I'll meet you in the middle. I can't say it's all the injury. There's got to be a little bit of both. Maybe he was banged up. Maybe he wasn't performing well in the postseason. That's why I wanted to see it this season. We're not going to get a chance to see it. But I don't think the Knicks are better off without him. Al is in Keyport. What's up, Al?
What's up, Brandon? You insulted me, though, the last time I called. But anyway, that's okay.
What?
It's all in fun.
Then it's not an insult. It's a joke. It's a big difference, Al. Go ahead, buddy.
I'm cool.
What's happening?
I'm cool as hell.
I know you are.
Randolph, though, Brandon, he changed his whole game, and he started taking the ball to the hoop when they got this OG guy. That's why they were playing better, more. He wasn't chucking up 3-pointers, and in the playoffs with Atlanta, he wasn't taking the ball to the hole. I know he was hurt a little bit, but he changed his whole game. That was the main thing that turned around the Knicks there when they got OG, because he started taking the ball to the hole, and that's why he got hurt, because he was more aggressive and he wasn't chucking them up. And that's my opinion.
Well, listen, I know you watch the Knicks all the time. I got you. I hear you. I appreciate your opinion. I do think now. I don't know that this necessarily applies in baseball, because the game of baseball doesn't change from middle of the summer when you get into October. You still play the same. You see better pitching, but the game is the same. In basketball, the game changes. And that lack of decisiveness, and this is the only knock, let's face it. If Julius Randle had a little bit more of a quicker instinct to reroute the ball, he'd be first team All-NBA, because there's really nothing that he can't do. But his deficiency is a bigger problem in the playoffs because of the way teams play defense. And without him, I want him there because I want him to feel that adulation.
Right.
He's a good Knick. I love him, but they're better without him. They're a better, more cohesive, well-run well-oiled team without Randle. They just are.
My feeling, my inside feeling is, and I feel like it's been like this for weeks with this Knicks team, it's like, but they don't have Julius Randle. If they did have Randle on a fully healthy team, I'd be like, okay, let's go. Let's see what this team could do. Now, he would have to prove himself in the postseason. I agree. He hasn't done it yet. He would have to do it.
Yep.
I believe that he would have, and I believe that this team could have gone to the NBA Finals, and who knows what could happen. Now I feel like there's that wall up. Even though I don't want to put a ceiling on them because of what they've done already, blowing through that wall and doing it in the regular season, postseason a different animal. I feel like the Knicks are less than what they would be without if they had Julius Randle. You feel like they're better than if they had Randle right now?
I do, and I got to be honest here. I think that my way of thinking is probably more in line with the reality of what's going to happen. I know that sounds like
What does that mean?
respect. I'm going to. Of course, I respect your opinion.
No, I know.
But the difference is when you look at the Knicks with Randle in the playoffs,
Right.
you are projecting big time that there would be a correction in how he plays in the playoffs.
Well, he'd have to do it.
Well,
I
I know,
mean-
I understand that, but that is far from a given. The guys that I'm talking about, their weaknesses are not nearly as destructive to the team's pursuit of a championship like Randall's
Yeah, but they're
are.
also
Like
not
when
good
Randle,
enough.
What's that?
They're also not good enough.
Well, they're different. No, they're in a lot of ways they're better because they fit the more modern NBA. I don't mean that, somebody like Dante DiVincenzo is going to be second team all NBA ever.
Right.
I'm not saying that. But when you look at the sum of the parts and then you have the orchestrator in Brunson, they're better without him. They're going to hit more shots. They're going to have fewer turnovers. They're going to have a better pace. They're going to be better defensively. I know you don't feel it, but
Matt,
I got it.
Matt is in Mattisquan. What's up, Matt?
Maddie.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Hey, buddy.
So, yeah, I think obviously Randle, he's an all-star, and you're losing that as a whole. And I'm not trying to put DiVincenzo on this pedestal of he's like some greatness or whatever. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if he's really kind of had the playoff background to kind of completely discredit him without even seeing what he can do in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Going by what the team has been doing the last month or so. I don't know. Who's to say that they can't keep it going and these shooters can't continue to shoot into the
They can,
playoffs?
and I think that they will.
Right. We could see that, Matt, and thank you for the call. And that's what's going to be fun about this. We're going to watch it play out here. It's going to play out. Could DiVincenzo continue to do what he's done or take another step in the postseason? And if he does, the Knicks will have success. I don't believe that he will. I believe that they would have been better with Randle. Unfortunately, we're not going to get a chance to see how they would have played with Randle. Now, let's say Randle was back, BT.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a definitive postseason for him. It couldn't be any more, but.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be produce or you got to figure out a way to change it.
I agree with that.
Now it could be proven the other way without him. If they have success and move on, to the Eastern Conference Finals or to the NBA Finals without him, then I think that is telling about how much they need him. If you can get to the NBA Finals or beat the Celtics or however you want to do it without him, we are going to learn that.
Says quite a bit.